Hi.
So, for the camera, I'm gonna ask you who you are, so your name, your pronouns, and what your position is as it relates to color guard at West Forsyth.
Cool.
So, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Lindsay Griffith. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a color guard captain at West Forsyth. I am one of 3 captains, and I'm also the flag line leader for this year.
Cool. So, what does that position entail? You can go into as much or as little detail as you would like. More is probably better, but whatever really.
Okay. For the being a captain part, it's since there are 3 of us, there's less to do among each person, but usually there's only 2. But for me, I help coordinate events, and which there's not a lot of happening this year, and I also make sure everybody has the information that they need for practice and for games regarding what to bring, what time we're meeting, and then the flag line leader. Again, we're not having a lot of this year because we don't have a show, but if we did have a show, I would be a soloist, and I would also be in charge of getting the choreography videotaped and out to everybody for the flag portion.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about how you got into color guard.
So it's actually a funny story. I had no idea what color guard was when my best friend Jenna introduced me to it my freshman year. But at the end of my freshman year, there were posters all around the school for marching band and color guard, particularly color guard, and they were really funny flyers, and I knew, I had some friends that had the coach, Miss Gartley, as one of their teachers for English, and everybody spoke so highly of her, and they all loved her. And Jenna just asked me if I would try it with her. They had a 4-day, what we called mini camp in May, where you could just come out for as many days of it as you wanted to. We learned some basics, some simple tosses, and just kind of got to know each other. And obviously not everybody that went joined, but we got a pretty solid number from that, and I fell in love after the first day. It's a very rewarding sport, and you learn that the very first day, because once you catch on, you feel really accomplished. So
Yeah. So was your reason for getting into it, or I guess I should put it in a more open way. So what was your main reason for getting into color guard? You saw the flyers, and you had heard a little bit about it from some friends, but what was the main motivation when you joined color guard, or when you auditioned?
Honestly, for me, I just wanted to be able to do something out of school with my friends. I had also just hurt my knee the year prior from soccer, and there was no way I was really going to be able to go back to that. And soccer had been a big part of my life. I had made a ton of friends doing it, so I was pretty sad. And I just figured that if I found something that I could do with some of my best friends, then that would be good for me, and color guard ended up being that.
So, your last year was your sophomore year in high school, correct?
Yes.
And that was your first year on the color guard team?
Yes.
Okay. So what were some of your favorite moments or memories from that season?
Oh my gosh, there were so many. If I had to pick one of my favorite moments, it would be our very first competition. We did not feel great about the show that we had thus far. We didn't have it finished yet because it was, oh gosh, what are they called? The different sections of the show. 4 movements of the show. And we didn't have half of the 3rd movement or the entire 4th movement choreographed. And keep in mind, the majority of these people were first-year color guard athletes. There were 3 that had done it before. The other 10 of us had never touched a flag in our lives. So our first competition was really, really scary. But beforehand, our coach came up to us and gave us a pep talk after we got to practice before going out on the field. And when we went out, we were all really excited and nervous at the same time. And obviously it wasn't perfect. Nobody was perfect that night. But the best moment from that entire night was coming off the field and feeling so accomplished to have done that for the first time, and just getting that thrill of having performed for a bunch of people, hearing the cheering of other bands and parents, and it was a really, really shocking moment. You know, you didn't expect to be cheered on by people that were your rivals, and it's just a very accepting community, and it was a lot of fun. It felt really good.
That's awesome. I can tell from the way that you're talking about it. Your eyes kind of lit up. It's clearly like a very happy memory for you.
Yeah.
So, not to spoil the mood, but now I'm kind of wondering how COVID-19 has impacted your journey with color guard. So, what has changed, and what has stayed the same? Like what have you learned from this experience? But to break that up into smaller segments, I guess first, I'd like for you to talk about what has changed now that we've been kind of under lockdown and operating under these different circumstances for almost a year.
So, do you mean like including like my winter guard season that I had, or just like the fall guard for this?
Just focusing on fall color guard.
Okay. So what's been different for fall color guard is obviously we weren't able to have that recruitment camp this past May because schools were shut down, everything was shut down. So we didn't get to recruit any new people. So this year, instead of having 10 new people, we had 2. Thankfully, we only had 2 seniors graduate last year, so it canceled out, and we have the same number of people. But, so that was one thing that changed. Another thing that's changed is color guard performs at football games at halftime with the marching band. And we're also like a pep team in the stands. We do stand dances, we do chants, and we haven't had a single football game yet this year. Actually, the first one is tomorrow. But usually those happen in the fall, and it's February. So that's another thing. And we haven't been able to have a show this year because we can't have the entire marching band rehearsing at once. We can only have up to 50 people at a practice, and we have more than 50 people in the entire band. So we have, instead of them practicing the show every week and meeting for 15 to 20 hours a week, we get 1 hour and a half long practice each week. And it sucks because it's a family and it's something that everybody on the team has grown to love, and myself included. And so it's been pretty hard not being able to be with that family, that group that you got really close with last year, especially because we got to have a full season of fall guard because COVID didn't impact us until March when things shut down. So it was a big change for all of us. And we also, since we haven't been able to meet as much, we haven't been able to progress our skills in terms of difficulty. So we've just picked up rifle 2 weeks ago, whereas we would have done it if we had normal guard. We would have done it at band camp at the start of August, but we didn't get to have that this year. So in terms of just how much we practice, how much we see each other, it's changed a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And so going off of that, I was wondering if you could talk a little more about what it means for you to be a co-captain of this team during the pandemic when so much has changed and you aren't being able to meet as often.
So kind of going back to the last question, we have when we've been practicing like once a week, we will learn a routine and then add to that every single week. So we've been creating anywhere from 24 to 32 counts and adding that onto each previous segment from the week before. And so I've still been able to record the flag things that we learn every single week and get that out to people and make sure that our 2 new members are, you know, learning what they need to learn and getting technique down, because once you have technique, you have the basics for pretty much everything. So I've still been able to perform some of the duties that I would have in a normal season, just much more limited. I'm also, with the other 2 captains, we just kind of check in on everybody 2-3 times a week, you know, emotionally and like guard wise, make sure that they have everything that they need. We're also working on like getting our 2 new members their team jackets, and that's something that one of the other captains handles. But for right now, I'm just in charge of you know, making sure everybody has what they need, and recording those videos, like I said.
That's awesome. I think it's really good that you have an opportunity even during you know, this time to be a leader, and especially in something that you care so much about. And you know, I think it's awesome that y'all are still able to check in on each other, and have some kind of, you know, like maintaining that bond, and building that bond with your 2 new members, even with everything going on.
Right.
And we're back with another angle. My phone decided to crap out on me, but that's okay, because I think we only have to repeat one question, which is fine.
Okay.
So my last question had been about what lessons you've learned over the course of this pandemic that you want to take with you as you continue in color guard next year, and you know, if you decide to go into color guard in college, you know, what do you want to take with you that you've learned into the rest of your color guard career, I guess.
Okay. So So a big thing for me has always been, I don't like making mistakes. And so it was really hard at the start of my guard career to not catch on to something right away, or not catch something in a moment when I needed to catch it, or just take a long time to understand a concept. And guard has seriously taught me like a big life lesson that it's really okay to make mistakes. Like, that's a pretty simple life lesson for other people, but it has always been really hard for me to accept making mistakes. So I guess I want to take that with me, because it helps me be less hard on myself. And especially in color guard, you're not going to get anywhere if you're being hard on yourself, because your body language is the entire part of it. It is the foundation of your movement, and the flag work and rifle work and saber work and dance. And it's pretty much impossible to doubt yourself and catch a flag. You have to be confident in what you're doing. You have to throw with power. You have to catch with power. You have to catch like you know exactly what you're doing, even if you feel like you don't. Because otherwise it's not going to work out. And I want to take that with me, because it's been super useful for me in the real world as well. But it's also helped me learn a lot faster ever since I've kind of accepted that I'm going to make mistakes, especially when it comes to color guard. People don't pick up on things right away, and that's okay.
Yeah, that was really well put. Thank you. So that's all I have, really. And unless there's anything else you want to add, I think we can wrap it up.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm super glad that we could talk about this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Alrighty.